The desert sun beat down mercilessly on the city of Fallujah in 2004. Inside the crowded civilian hospital, Dr. Sarah Mitchell moved through the corridors with practiced efficiency, her blue scrubs already stained from the morning's emergency cases. To everyone around her, she was just another American civilian doctor volunteering in the war-torn region. But Sarah carried a secret that could never be revealed. 3 months earlier, Sarah had sat in a nondescript office in Virginia, facing two men in suits who would change her life forever. They told her about the Shadow Tactical Medic program, a classified operation so secret that even most military brass didn't know it existed. The mission was simple but dangerous: embed highly skilled military surgeons into civilian hospitals in combat zones, operating undercover to save lives that would otherwise be lost in the chaos of war. Sarah had spent 12 years as a trauma surgeon in the army, serving in some of the most dangerous locations on earth. She had seen things that haunted her dreams, made decisions that weighed on her soul. But she had also saved hundreds of lives, pulled soldiers back from the brink when everyone else had given up hope. When they asked if she would go to Fallujah, she didn't hesitate. The cover story was perfect. Sarah Mitchell, civilian doctor, volunteer with a medical aid organization, no military background whatsoever. She learned to hide the telltale signs of her training, to soften the military bearing that had become second nature. She practiced looking uncertain, asking for help, appearing less competent than she actually was. It was harder than any physical training she had ever endured. The hospital in Fallujah was overwhelmed. Civilians caught in the crossfire, children injured by explosives, families torn apart by violence they never asked for. Sarah worked 18-hour days, saving lives with the limited resources available. But that wasn't why she was really there. Late one night, her encrypted phone buzzed with a message. Coordinates. A time. A name. The real mission was about to begin. The next evening, a convoy arrived at the hospital. They brought in 5 casualties, soldiers from a classified operation that had gone wrong deep in enemy territory. The official story was that they were contractors, but Sarah knew better. She recognized the insignia, the equipment, the look in their eyes. These were Special Operations Forces, the kind of soldiers who didn't officially exist. The most critical patient was a young captain with multiple gunshot wounds and severe internal bleeding. The hospital's regular staff took one look and shook their heads. He needed a level of care they couldn't provide, equipment they didn't have, skills beyond their training. They were ready to make him comfortable, to let him slip away with dignity. Sarah stepped forward. This was the moment she had trained for, the reason she had sacrificed everything to be here. But she had to be careful. She couldn't reveal her true capabilities too quickly, couldn't show the extent of her knowledge and experience. She had to make it look natural, lucky, like she was just doing her best with limited resources. She worked through the night, her hands moving with precision born from thousands of hours in field hospitals and combat surgical units. She used techniques she had learned in the military's most advanced trauma courses, procedures that officially didn't exist. Around her, the civilian staff watched in amazement as she improvised solutions, created tools from whatever was available, performed what seemed like miracles with nothing but skill and determination. The captain survived. Against all odds, against every prediction, he made it through. The next morning, he was stable enough to be quietly evacuated to a military facility. The civilian staff celebrated Sarah's incredible save, calling it the best work they had ever seen. They had no idea they had just witnessed battlefield medicine at its finest, delivered by one of the military's most skilled trauma surgeons. But Sarah's mission was far from over. Over the following weeks, more cases came in. Soldiers who couldn't be officially treated at military facilities, operators who needed care but couldn't risk exposure, fighters whose very presence in the region was classified. Each time, Sarah performed her delicate balancing act, saving lives while maintaining her cover, being exceptional without being suspiciously perfect. One case nearly broke her. A young Marine, barely 20 years old, came in with injuries so severe that even Sarah wasn't sure she could save him. He had been caught in an explosion during a patrol, his body torn apart by shrapnel. As she worked on him, he opened his eyes for just a moment, looked directly at her, and whispered something that made her blood run cold. He had recognized her. They had served together 2 years ago at a base in Afghanistan. He knew exactly who she was, what she was capable of. In that moment, Sarah faced an impossible choice. She could maintain her cover and do only what a civilian doctor might attempt, or she could use every skill in her arsenal and risk exposure. She chose to save his life. For the next 6 hours, she performed surgery that would have been remarkable even in a fully equipped American hospital. She used techniques that took years to master, made decisions that only someone with extensive combat medicine experience could make. The hospital staff watched in stunned silence as she did things they had never seen before, worked with a confidence and skill that seemed impossible. The Marine survived, but Sarah knew her cover was compromised. The staff was asking questions, wondering where she had learned such advanced techniques, how a civilian volunteer could perform at the level of the military's best surgeons. She prepared to be pulled out, to have the mission shut down. Instead, something unexpected happened. The hospital's Iraqi director, Dr. Rashid, called her into his office. She expected confrontation, exposure, disaster. What she got was understanding. Dr. Rashid had been a military surgeon himself, years ago, before the wars that had torn his country apart. He recognized what Sarah was, what she was doing. But instead of exposing her, he offered to help. He had seen the soldiers she had saved, knew that her work was keeping men alive who would otherwise die. He didn't care about politics or sides, only about saving lives. Together, they created a new system. When critical military cases came in, Dr. Rashid would ensure Sarah had the resources and privacy she needed. He would run interference with the staff, create plausible explanations for her skills, protect her cover while allowing her to work at her full capacity. It was a partnership born from mutual respect and a shared commitment to medicine above all else. The missions continued. Sarah saved dozens of lives over the following months, performing surgery in conditions that would have been impossible for most doctors. She operated during mortar attacks, worked through power outages using flashlights and headlamps, improvised solutions to problems that had no textbook answers. She was living on the edge, pushing herself beyond every limit she thought she had. But the cost was mounting. The stress of maintaining her cover, the weight of the lives in her hands, the constant danger. She couldn't tell anyone about the real nature of her work, couldn't share the burden with friends or family. She existed in a shadow world, neither fully civilian nor fully military, belonging nowhere and everywhere at once. Then came the call she had been dreading. A major operation had gone catastrophically wrong. Multiple casualties, all critical, all needing immediate advanced trauma care. They were being brought to her hospital because there was nowhere else to go, no other option. If Sarah couldn't save them, they would die. The convoy arrived in the middle of the night, racing through dangerous streets under the cover of darkness. They brought in 8 soldiers, each one fighting for life. The hospital's emergency room became a war zone as Sarah and her team fought to save them all. She moved from table to table, making impossible decisions about who to treat first, allocating resources that didn't exist, performing medical miracles through sheer force of will. For 14 hours straight, Sarah worked without rest. Her hands cramped, her vision blurred, her body screamed for her to stop. But she kept going, driven by something beyond physical endurance. 7 of the 8 soldiers survived. The one who didn't had been too far gone when he arrived, his injuries beyond what any surgeon could repair. In the aftermath, as dawn broke over Fallujah, Sarah finally allowed herself to feel the weight of what she had done. She had saved 7 lives that night, but she had also lost one. The balance sheet of war was written in blood, and she was its accountant. General Harrison arrived at the hospital 3 days later. He was the commander who had recruited Sarah, who had believed in the Shadow Tactical Medic program when everyone else thought it was impossible. He found Sarah in the small room she used as quarters, staring at the wall with hollow eyes. He sat down beside her and spoke quietly. The mission was over. The program had proven its worth beyond all expectations. Sarah had saved more lives than anyone had thought possible, pioneered techniques that would reshape battlefield medicine for years to come. She was being recalled, honored, given recognition that would have to remain forever classified. But in that moment, the general said something that Sarah would never forget. He looked at her with tears in his eyes and called her the surgeon of Fallujah. Not because of her skill or her success rate, but because of her courage. The courage to stand in the gap between life and death, to make impossible choices, to carry burdens that would break most people. The courage to save lives when everyone else had given up hope. Sarah left Fallujah 2 weeks later, slipping away as quietly as she had arrived. The civilian staff never knew her true identity, never understood the full extent of what she had accomplished. To them, she was just Dr. Mitchell, the dedicated volunteer who had worked so hard to help their patients. But in the classified halls of military medicine, her legend grew. The surgeon of Fallujah became a symbol of what was possible when skill met courage, when training met determination, when one person refused to accept that any life was beyond saving. The Shadow Tactical Medic program continued, inspired by her example, saving countless more lives in conflicts around the world. Years later, Sarah would look back on those months in Fallujah as the most important of her life. Not because of the recognition or the success, but because she had stood on the front lines of humanity's eternal war against death and darkness, and she had refused to surrender. She had been a warrior in scrubs, a soldier without a weapon, fighting the only battle that truly matters, the battle to preserve life in the face of overwhelming odds. The surgeon of Fallujah had walked through fire and emerged transformed, carrying with her the memories of every life saved and every life lost, a living testament to the power of medicine, courage, and the unbreakable human spirit.